Hello and welcome to Whiskey and Wool. My name is Shannon and this is just like it says, Knitter's Life. Welcome to my new series, Knitter's Life Episode 2. This is where I share mostly what I've been crafting in a of the moment style and then also with a little bit of narrative as well, mixed in here and there interspersed throughout. I will include at the end a short new segment about lifestyle, like lifestyle-centric segment, and I'm beginning that segment with speaking about skincare. So I'm going to talk to you about that later, but for now I'm going to begin, as I always do, with a little whiskey chat. So I will be filming the whiskey chat later this evening, and I'm going to insert it here. Hope you enjoy. I'll tell you where to skip to. I forgot to do that last time, but I will tell you where to skip to if you are not interested in whiskey and want to get right into the wool. Hey there, I'm going to do a little whiskey chat with you. I am going to taste today Highland Park Fire Edition 15 year. I'm a little excited to taste this. Okay, I hope I can, this has quite a story. So first off, Highland Park, I don't think I've ever done a Highland Park whiskey before. It is an easy to say name distillery on a hard to say name place. It is located on the Orkney Islands that are north of Scotland. So I'm going to put in some pictures here. I'm also putting in the pronunciation on screen so you could see it. The Orkney Islands, if I'm saying that right, I hope so. They are located north of Scotland. They were under the rule of, I think it was Denmark. Hold on one sec. I'm going to put pictures too. The landscape is spectacular. It's like a very windswept place. It's, small population. It's got a few major towns. Kirkwall is one of the towns that the distillery, Highland Park Distillery, is near. So that They are self-described as beautiful yet isolated cluster of islands pounded relentlessly by winds that frequently reach speeds of over 100 miles per hour in the winter. No tree can survive such onslaught, so it's rather treeless. That means our moorland peat is woodless but rich in fragrant heather. So heather is, as you may know, is a very prolific plant in the Scottish Isles and Scottish region. So that produces a unique aromatic smokiness to the whiskey. Okay. So I just want to make sure I get this history of the Highland right. They were ruled by the Viking kings of Norway and Denmark, and then the Orkney Islands were gifted to the Scottish King James III as part of dowry for his princess that was coming from the region, the Norway. I think it was Norway. I think it was King of Norway. I don't know. Those lands, we're talking like 600 years ago. So I don't know who was king of what over there in that area, in any area. You know, those boundaries are very fluid. Kind of move quite a lot. Nevertheless, they have spent the last 600 years under Scottish rule, which includes the UK, part of the UK kingdom. All those dates are kind of questionable too, depending on who you talk to. Nevertheless, proudly, the Orkney natives claim to be descendants of Vikings who ruled and lived on those lands, and part of the UK Scottish region, which I think I also have both Viking blood and Scottish blood if I look at my DNA, because I am Danish descent, and I also have Scottish descent as well. Okay, Classic American mutt, though, to be frank, as many of us are. Okay, so so this distillery has its very unique personality. So they were established in the 1700s. They admit to making whiskey way before that. They just said that was the point that they became legal. I think it was 1798. If I can locate the the info on their very broad website. They are an independent operation, so not owned by a corporation. The founder was Magnus Unsen, a direct Viking descendant who was a butcher and also a church officer by day and a smuggler by night. He set up his illicit still in a little bothy at High Park that was overlooking the town of Kirkwall. So Highland Park Distillery is still on that site. They say that their distillery was founded in 1798, but we know UK law said that, 1822 was the year that distilling could be legal. Of course, these are the islands, so there was probably different rules out there. So that was, they say that was the year that authorities finally caught up with Magnus and gave him a choice to either start paying taxes on his whiskey or go to jail. And so whiskey was definitely being made ahead of that, but that's the founding year. And so he has had a bold and uncompromising approach, which the distillery is proud to say that they still do today. They still like to do things the old way. Their whiskeys are said to be characterized by the charm and environment in which it is made. They have 25 warehouses. Only 2 have gone missing, so there's technically just 23. So they're a pretty large operation, which I'll be putting pictures in here to show you. They have 2 pagoda-topped kilns. Their kilns are over 100 years old, and that's what they use to dry out the barley, which gives it a smoky flavor. So the whiskey that I'm tasting today is not for sale on their website anymore. They're not making it anymore, so they don't talk about it. But I did find information about it from other places. So they have the typical 10-year, 12-year, 15-year, 18-year, 30-year, 40-year. They have a couple special ones, which this was one. They did a Fire Edition and an Ice Edition. The Ice Edition actually came first, and then the Fire Edition came second. They also have an edition, a Highland Park Magnus, that's meant to recognize their founder. I don't know how old that one is. The flavors of that Magnus sound amazing, though. It says lemon, vanilla sponge cake, caramelized pineapple, peat smoke, and sweet violets. Wow. I don't know how much that one is. This one I'm tasting runs around $300 a bottle. So I'm really delighted to be able to try just a wee dram of it. They have another special one that they call Spirit of the Bear. Their iconography too is very sort of that Viking-esque or sort of very Celtic, but with some Viking iconography. Very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. So the Fire Edition, let's focus on this one. It is matured for 15 years in 100% port wine seasoned casks, which was a new type of finishing for Highland Park. Port wine seasoned cask, it's not really clear what they mean, but it probably is. It's probably like bourbon casks that have been treated with from port, like by treated with port wine, just specifically for the finishing of this particular whiskey. So let's give this a try. It is, I would characterize it as, hang on one sec, I just want to see, okay, see what you're seeing. I would characterize this as being rather, well, maybe if I just hold it here, you can see. So sort of a middle gold color. It has a very, very sweet nose. It's caramel smelling, but sweeter than that, like not the burnt caramel. Wow, a lot of like red fruits on top, I would say, like, yeah, I would almost like plum, berry. Probably what I'm smelling is a lot of the port influence. Raisins too, I'd say. Let's taste it. Ooh, wow. Oh, there's like vanilla. At the back, there's almost like a burnt wood taste, if that makes sense. Sugary. It's very sweet. Surprisingly sweet. All right, let's see what, I couldn't find anything on their site, so we're just going to see what the experts say about it. Okay. Blackberries and prunes. A little vanilla and toffee, hints of charcoal. So this is all what you smell. So I was saying plums maybe. So prunes, prunes are made from plums, so I wasn't that far off. Raspberry jam and whiffs of hibiscus. Reminds of the core range of Highland Park with a little makeup from the port, which is good. Interesting. Okay. The raspberry, definitely. It's so sweet. It's really surprisingly sweet. Okay. First taste. On the nose, citrusy notes before it diverts into smoky notes. Elegant and delicious. Dark ruby fruits like damsons or forest fruit jams. Overbaked cinnamon pastry. I don't taste the cinnamon. Maybe not as fiery as you think, but warm, glowy smokiness. I would agree with that. And then the finish is raspberry and peppery smoke, which is where I was saying like kind of a burnt wood. Wow. Really delicious. The bottle is also quite striking. I think I've probably put a couple pictures in of that now as well. I hope you get a chance to enjoy a wee dram of your own at some point in the future, or tonight, perhaps, as you are watching the rest of my video. Thanks so much. See you soon. Welcome back. I got a new mug. I should save this for stash acquisitions, but I got a new mug from Janine Carson. This one is The Magician, based on The Magician. It has some really pretty roses here, too. I'm having a little ice water. Anyway, fun. I think I'm going to need to collect a couple more of those. All right, so you saw the segments leading into my finished object. My finished object is woven chevrons by Stephen West that I've made out of my Stitch Together Studio 12-day rainbow advent calendar. Yeah, so it is blocked. This is actually the first time I've had it on my person. I have had it. Martha's been wearing it for the last week or two or so. And I just took it off her this morning to put on a whip. And my intention was to wear the woven chevron. This is a very, I guess, so it's typical Stephen West in that you're doing these techniques that are familiar, but he combines them, the way he combines the techniques in such a way to create something new, I think. But yeah, so this is, as I said, Stitch Together Studio 12-day Advent. Main color is a color from Valkyrie Fibers called Smeagol, and it's just a really plain neutral, really nice neutral with pops of color in it. And yeah, I think that's about all I could tell you. I loved knitting it. It was very potato chippy because when you finish one stripe, you just want to keep going. When we got to the top portion, this portion here, the rows were quite long. They were over 300, but not 400 stitches. So it took a little while to get through these last stripes because you begin down here, making these very short rows here, which was so fun to get through. I got through that part very quickly. Each section, the way the pattern's written, I didn't alter anything about the way the pattern was written except that my choice of colors, I chose the 12 minis instead of 3 contrast colors. So he wrote it for 3 contrast colors. And the way it's written, each section has 6 stripes. So if you were doing 3 contrast colors, you'd have 2 stripes, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So 2 repeats of those 3 colors. But for me, it was only half of my repeat, with my full repeat being 12. So it actually worked out pretty well. You saw the images, and I also have posted on Instagram about this, so it may not be surprising to some of you. I don't know why I'm struggling with what to tell you about this. Yeah, so you saw what I had left over. I really made it just under the wire with the first 6 colors, because the first 6 colors get used the most, because they do this last section as well. I did all 9 sections as Stephen had written it. And that's a wrap. That's a wrap. I love rainbow mini skein sets. I think they're so versatile. If you like this sort of rainbow theme in your knits, I would say pick up some rainbow mini skein collections from dyers as they make them. They make them all year round. I think Stitch Together has a 7 skein mini set right now that is very similar to the colors in here. It doesn't have all of them, of course, but she's got, in fact, her gold is more of a tonal gold, where this was a very speckly gold in that 7 skein mini set. And she wrote on a post that she was thinking about doing the 12 skein mini set because of the popularity of this shawl. So yeah, so keep an eye out for that. Maybe that'll be something that would work for you. So if you're wondering, the mini skeins were all 20 grams. They are the 75-25 sock yarn, which has more yardage than an 80-20 or even or 100% superwash merino. It has a lot more yardage. They average about 463 yards per 100 grams versus like 400 yards per 100 grams. So do keep an eye out for that. But I actually think you could do this sort of thing, this 12 color stitch repeat or 12 color repeat, stripe repeat, using any 12 colors. It wouldn't have to necessarily be a rainbow group. In fact, a few people messaged me and told me that they were planning to copy the use of using advents in this shawl pattern. So you can actually do this type of thing with any pattern, so with those 20 grams, 5 of them are the equivalent of 1 skein. So you would just use those in a 5 stripe repeat wherever that single color was called for in a shawl pattern or a sweater pattern. So there's a lot of different creative ways, creative approaches that you can use to use up your Advent minis if you also got some. So yeah, so that is this finished object, and I want to move on to whips now. Oh, wait. Before I move on to whips, just let me tell you the other thing that I'm wearing, which is the rye layering tee. It's a pattern of my own design. I made this sweater last year in 2020. I made it, this was the prototype, so to speak. The layering tee pattern is written so that you can do a button Henley neckline like this, or you can do a plain crew neck. It is written in a way that you really sort of choose what pattern you want. This particular one is, you're going to see some pilling because I do wear this quite a lot. This particular one is called Mistake Rib, and the instructions for this stitch pattern are in the pattern as well. You can also just do this with stockinette stitch, or you can do the pattern is written for you to do any rib pattern, any rib stitch you want. So you could do 1 by 1, you could do 2 by 2, or you can do no rib. You can just do stockinette. I'm at a point of reconciliation in this knitting this sweater, reconciliation towards the yield that I that I've developed in creating this stripe repeat. So the repeat is from here to here, from the top of the red speckle to the bottom of the gray. So now that I'm knitting the body, so you can see here that where I've put the purple in instead of the blue, but now that I'm on the body, I've split for the sleeves, I can quickly calculate how many grams, one row is even. I can get that minute. So I can tell that I'm going to be short yarn. I'm fine on these contrast colors over here. These are all going to be just fine. Actually not that one, but this little grouping here, the pinks, the blues, the purples, and the grays. Gray. They're all going to be fine, even straight through the sleeves. But what I may run short on are these colors over here. I think the red will be okay because I do have another 20 grams of contrasting colors, of reds that have grouped in with this. So I think the red is fine. But these two, the sand and the yellow from Clinton Hill, I'm definitely going to run short. So I did a quick little bit of math to figure out how much I've used already and then how much I will need, including the sleeve yield. And so the way I did that was I figured out that about 4 rows of in the body, about 4 rows equals 5 grams. And then I calculated how many more inches I want to knit, which I think is about 10 more inches. And then I'm going to do a sand cashmere ribbing bottom at the end. And I'm going to do a split hem, even though this Paloma is not a split hem normally. But I do want to do a split hem, and I think I want to make it about the same length. So this is 20 rows here. So I will definitely run short. I only have about 15 grams left of this sand, and I calculated I need another 55 grams. So with that in mind, 55 grams for the body, and that's probably being generous. So that means I need at least one more skein. I do have another 10 grams of from the advent calendar of yarn that I'm classifying as sand because it's so close in color. It does have a little bit of speckling, but I think inserted in one of these 3-row stripes, same difference, right? So for the sleeves, what I've done is calculated that they will need about 20% of whatever it is I'm using in the body for both sleeves, because that's pretty much how sleeves go. It may mean the yarn shortage that I'm encountering with these. It may mean that I change up the stitch repeat in the sleeve. I'm not sure. I'm gonna do the entire body before I make that judgment call, because I could do like maybe 10 rows, or I could do like bigger contrast rows than I've done here. So bottom line is, in doing math, I figured out that I need another skein of this. I'm probably going to use about half or a little less than half of the yellow. And I need one more skein of this, and I'll probably use up every last bit of it for in the sand. I did also consider, I wasn't sure, how much I was going to be using of each color when I started this project. So I did consider that at some point in the body, I could just stop striping and just do like the second third, or from the second third down, just solid sand. That would consume a lot more of this, and I would probably need more than one more skein. I would probably need another 3 or 4 skeins of sand to do that type of striping pattern. I may still do that on the sleeves. I just have to see how it goes. But as I'm knitting, as in the pattern that I've established, what's happened is that I have plenty of the contrast colors, and I'm short these colors. So I need to adjust and pull in some more yarn, some more of these colors. So I'm going to go ahead and place an order with Clinton Hill Cashmere for another skein of each of these. And if need be, down the road, I will buy one more skein of sand. That would be the only place that I think I might need more. Just is going to depend on how well the math worked in my calculation for the sleeve yields. And just wanted to share that with you. So yes, the whip that I worked the most on is what Martha is wearing, which is the Paloma by Espace Tricot. I am knitting this out of my other Advent mini collection, one of my other ones, another 12 skein mini collection from Cashmere Treats. It is 100% cashmere. Let me see if I have oh yeah, here's 100% cashmere. Cashmere Treats, there we go. Yeah, California-based, hand-dyed in Oakland, which, if you don't know California, that is right outside of San Francisco. It was a 12 skein mini, 12 mini skeins, 10 grams each, about 40 yards of a DK weight. So, and then I purchased separately a 100% cashmere. I purchased separately the full skein, which was with her 24-day, so called Deck the Halls. That is that red speckle yarn that you're seeing there. I had a full skein of that, which was 200 yards and 55 grams of 100% cashmere. In addition, I bought some yarn from Clinton Hill. I talked a little bit about this in the intro to this project. So I bought a little bit of Clinton Hill Bespoke DK at an event that was at the beginning of December. I bought the color Sand, which is the neck trim color and the bottom trim color, and then I also bought this yellow, which is called YOLO, Y-O-L-O. I bought 2 skeins of those. I have since bought another 2 skeins of those, both of those, because, like, as I said in the video that you just watched, in this segment that you just watched, I probably didn't plan that stitch repeat in a way that would best give me a good yield for the yarn that I had. And it turns out that because I did I did 10 rows and 10 rows, and then I did 3 rows here, that really mathematically, though it's appealing to look at, mathematically it wasn't giving me the yield that I needed based on the amounts of yarn that I had of each thing. So I have purchased 2 further skeins, and this is how much I have left of each. Doing fine on the yellow. The sand is looking a little peaked, but that's okay because I do have another partial mini skein of sand as well as some left over from the first skein that I bought. So those will be, usable in the sleeves for sure. Yeah. So I'm on the sleeves. So I did a couple rows of the sleeves of that sleeve. What I'm planning to do is knit a stripe on one sleeve and then come across and knit on the other so that I don't run out of yarn. I'm at a crossroads again with this piece, and I happen to get to it just in the morning. So instead of filming it and then inserting it, I'm going to talk to you about it now. I don't know what to do with the sleeves stitch repeat. The length of the sleeve is probably going to be about the same length of the body in terms of the striping, and then it'll have a lengthy cuff, a little bit longer cuff than what this has here. I don't know what to do because some of the colors, the way that I worked this out, I grouped colors. So like this blue and purple are the same color, and then along with them is this other blue. So let me show you these up a little closer because I think I have a dab of each left. So I guess my point is, what I'm trying to say is that I don't have enough to make exactly, so that this is what I was considering all one color. I went over how I was arranging everything in my last episode, in episode 1. And then the red speckle I'm almost out of, so I'm not going to be able to do as hefty a repeat there as I have been. So that's all I have left of red, and then so the red speckle was going with this red solid. So the sleeves are going to look different no matter what. So the question I have for myself, and feel free to share your ideas, is do I do the same repeat, doing 10 and then these little groups of 3s, or do I throw that out the window on the sleeves and maybe just do a very regular repeat, or like a reduced version of that repeat? So maybe I do 6 rows and 2 rows, so that it's a similar repeat, but it'll be a little bit tighter. And in that tightening, I'll get closer to using the yarn in a way that matches with what I have. Because worst case scenario, I have plenty of these contrast colors to just do this repeat. And I think I have plenty of the yellow. I may end up having to buy one more skein of sand if I want to do this repeat exactly. But also, the red will not look like this. It won't be speckled. It'll be speckled a little bit, but it's going to be solid red. So I don't know if it's wise. Or I could throw this repeat completely out the window and just do like, what I was thinking I would do is just do like even amounts, like of maybe, I've already done 6 rows there. So maybe I do 6, 4, 4, or maybe the whole thing is just 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, and I'm just repeating. I'm following this pattern, but I'm repeating, in a different way. Oh, by the way, I did use a little bit of the gold, the color Candlelight from Cashmere Treats, as part of the YOLO because I got impatient waiting for the yellow yarn to come from Clinton Hill. So I was able to, I realized I had to end right here because I ran out of YOLO right there. And I had 2 more rows to do. So I was like, you know what? The sleeves are going to end up with this gold in it anyway. So let me just go ahead and put it in there and just see. I think it looks fine though. It has some difference in the way that it is sort of going. It's very unique. It's very unique striping pattern. But I do have several colors that are going to be popping into the sleeves that are not in the body. And so those would be, I think this is all of them. These 3 right here. So these are not in the body, but they will be in the sleeves. So that's why I was thinking maybe I'm best off just coming up with a stitch repeat and just doing like 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, all the 4 rows all the way down, and just see how that goes. And at the end, when I get to if I run out, I could just finish them off and say, I don't know, I'm so confused. I think I need to sketch. I think I need to make some sketches and figure out what to do with those stitch repeats. So anyway, this is going to be hanging out here. And you can look at it, keep looking at it, and tell me what you think. So because I finished the woven chevron, and because I was waiting for yarn on this, I was able to put some work in on some other projects. And you know, the thing with putting a project down and then waiting a while to pick it back up is that it starts to be a little intimidating to pick the project back up again, because you're like, oh God, I have to now go back and read those directions again. And it feels so big, like it feels like such a big thing, but it really usually is not. It usually just takes a few minutes, maybe 5-10 minutes at the most, to get back into the groove of whatever it was you were doing. But it does require thought, and you aren't able to simply pick it up and knit like you might on a project that you're constantly working on. So anyway, I went back to the HANA sweater, which I started in November. I cast it on and knit about that much, and then I put it aside so that I could do some Christmas knits. And yeah, anyway, I have since picked it up, and I have knit quite a lot, as I shared with you in the clips. I'm working on the second panel. So this is a modular pattern that is designed by Junko Okamoto. And what you do is you make your front and back in 3 panels. So this would be like the, yeah, I think this would be the front. This is the way it goes. Yeah, so you knit a series of cable patterns across. This is the first one I did right here, and then you bind off, turn the work, and pick up stitches across the front again. That's just my cable needle sitting in there, waiting for me in case I need to use it. So yeah, so then you do this a different cable pattern this way, and then when I'm done with knitting this whole section, I will bind that off and turn again, and then I'll be knitting a section that'll go this way. Sorry, it'll go the same direction as this one, but it'll go the entire length. So my front will end up being these two, so this will get all the way up to the shoulder, and then there'll be another section that goes from shoulder down to the hem. So that's the front, that's the back. You do 2 of these, one front, one back, and then the sleeve, and the sleeves are done in pieces as well. So you're just knitting a triangle. If you've never done a sweater in pieces, if you're, you know, a newer knitter, like new within the last like 5 or 8 years or so, before that, we all knit in pieces. Nobody knit in the round except some Scandinavian people who had always knit that way. It was more common to knit in pieces and then sew everything together, but now no one does that anymore. But this pattern does make you sew everything together. So yeah, I'll be knitting the sleeves in triangle form, and then with the wrist being the smaller part of the triangle, and then the armhole being the bigger part of the triangle. So I'll be knitting these triangles and then sewing the pieces together. What I didn't realize, so when Junko published this pattern back in November, I fell in love immediately and was like, I must make that. And I had also been eyeing this beautiful yarn, which is Daylights by Harrisville Designs. It's 80% Cormo, 20%, I think it's 80-20, 20% other wool. And the theory behind this yarn, if you are familiar with Nightshades, this is the white version of it called Daylights. Nightshades is also 80% Cormo, 20% other wool, and the other wool color, it becomes a color. So it's 100%, 80% black Cormo, where this is 80% white Cormo. So sheep, come in all different colors. And I think this is natural white as far as I know. And there are little flecks of grays and black in there too. But this color is called Bloodshot. So all of the daylight colors are based on morning. It's like early morning sunrise type of thing. So bloodshot, meaning like you might have bloodshot eyes. Yeah, so it's got little bits of red. So that extra percent that's not Cormo is a color. So there's this one. There's Chirp, which is yellow. There is Lint, which is purple. So anyway, it's beautiful, scrumptious yarn. I really couldn't wait to get my hands on it. I had no idea what I was going to make. And then bam, Junko came out with this sweater pattern. And I said, that's what I'm going to make with that. And I did a quick swatch using nightshades. And I also, because I figured the yarn was going to be the same. It's just the same content, same everything. It's just different color. And then I ordered the yarn and started, was excitedly waiting for the pattern. So yeah. Anyway, love it. Love it. This has been so fun. I was, I forget who I was watching the other day. Oh, I think it was, oh my goodness, I don't remember her name. I'm going to put it on screen. But the YouTube is a Girl Meets Yarn. And she's definitely a unique watch. She talks about yarn, but she has a unique personality. And I mean, I could imagine that she's not everyone's cup of tea, but I actually really enjoy her because she's so different and just such, positive energy and everything. Anyway, I think it was her that was saying that it's really important for her to have a simple knit on the needles, something that she can knit without thinking. So like something that's stockinette. And then to also have a more complicated knit on the needles. So this is definitely scratching that itch of having a little bit more complicated stitch on or project on the needles. So something that is a little bit more cerebral, that requires a little bit more concentration, but just feels so satisfying as you are, doing row after row. I mean, working cables in DK is so much more satisfying than working cables and fingering knit, just because you go faster. But yeah, I'm excited to have this done. What I didn't realize, so since I first cast it on, when I first cast it on, there were maybe 6 or 7 projects on Ravelry. Now there's a couple hundred. So when I went to pick this up again, I went to look at them. And I found it really interesting that many people turned this around and made this the top instead of this. And I thought, why do you want this honeycomb cable on your stomach? I think I'd much rather have it up here because it's kind of going to make you look bigger. It's going to make you look bigger wherever it lands. And it makes more sense to me to have it this way, the way Junko imagined it, to have this up on top. The other thing that I don't think I realized when I cast this on is that there's no rib trim. And as I talked about the piecing, you're really making a four-sided shape for it's like very, very simple garment shaping, right? So the front and back are these four-sided shapes, and then your sleeve is a four-sided shape too, but it's triangular. It's not what is that called? I don't remember the geometric term for a four-sided shape that has one side very much smaller than the other side, but these horizontal ones are even. I don't remember the name of it, but whatever, you know what I mean. So what I didn't realize was that there's absolutely no shaping for the shoulder, there's no shaping for the neck, and there's no rib trim on the sleeve or on the bottom. I think I'm going to stay true to Junko's vision and knit it that way, but it did give me pause. And I have been sort of thinking, my wheels have been turning about, do I do shoulder shaping? Am I going to be okay with this very simple garment shape? I mean, it is very much oversized. The size I'm knitting is size 2, I think, 2 or 3. It's going to end up being like a 49 to 50 inch chest. So it's going to be much bigger. I have about a 39 inch bust. So it's going to be about 11 inches, 10 to 11 inches bigger than I am. Yeah, I'm going to think about it. I have a while before I get there. I will have to do shoulder shaping on this piece here if that's something I want to do. I may end up doing shoulder shaping. I think shoulder shaping might give me what I'll need in terms of the neck, because you can imagine that the neck is going to be very boaty, and we're not straight across. We get this triangle shape here that occurs. So maybe if I do the knit in such a way that it fills in that section, I think I might like the fit better. And then I can decide whether I want to do rib cuffs when I knit the sleeves. I can decide that later. I don't think that doesn't bother me as much. She does have an embroidered finish on the whole sweater. So you where this line is, where these two panels are meeting, you intentionally cast on in such a way that you end up with an edge, and then what'll happen is that you'll do like an embroidered whip stitch in a contrast color. And I think for me it's going to probably be red, a red color. I don't know if I have any red yarn actually, because I don't wear red much. I'm not really into it. So yeah, things to think about. But fun knit, definitely a fun knit. It really, doing a modular knit of something that is challenging and all over cable like this is a really nice way to sort of break down into small bite-sized pieces these cable sections. So you're just doing a small section of cable and then you're changing. You're doing a different type of cable. And this honeycomb section here is so easy. It looks so complicated and beautiful, but it's actually really, really easy. And I do try really hard to do cables without a cable needle. I'm very proficient when the stitches sit in the back. I can do it without the needle just fine. But if the stitches have to come in the front, it feels a little awkward to me, and it's just easier to grab the needle and cable needle and just put the stitches on the cable needle. If it's just one stitch that's going in the front, sometimes I'll just hold it while I insert the needle into the next stitch, and then I'll catch it back on the needle after I do that. So yep, so that is HANA by Junko Okamoto. I have also been working on my half triangle wrap, half and half triangle wrap. Fudge, I'm in the middle of a row, which just makes it harder to show you. But yeah, this is a pattern by Purl Soho. It is free, and it is part of a knit-along, a year-long knit-along that Caddy Jack's knits are doing. Caitlin and Jackie are doing with their viewers, and with the intention of going to Rhinebeck. And so I don't know how much done since I last showed you. Maybe a couple inches, certainly from where the stitch marker is, probably a little bit more. Very mindless knitting, scratches that mindless, easy to pick up and just work on itch. So this is something that I can often reach for in the morning when I'm not thinking clearly and I need to sort of gather my thoughts. This might be something that I will just put my hands to work doing something. So as my wheels are spinning about what it is I'm going to do that day and what work is ahead of me. So yeah, I am using, so the pattern is written by Purl Soho as a project to make out of their linen quill yarn. I am not using linen quill, though the Caddy Jack's team is, and many people, I think most of the knit-alongs, the knitters that I've seen are using linen quill. Some are using other things. Did I finish saying that the idea is to meet at Rhinebeck? To meet together at Rhinebeck and show off our half-wrap cows, and just know that, we were thinking of each other and knitting together on this project, a very sort of soothing, calming knit project that will feel like a warm hug from each other when we put it on. Okay, so I am doing mine out of, I was just looking over there to see if I had the yarn. I'm doing mine out of the Yin-yang yarn by Loop Fiber Studio. She is she actually has a booth at Rhinebeck. Stephanie Gorin, she developed this yarn, Yin-yang, in fingering weight and in, I think, the DK weight. Let me show you the Yin-yang part of it. So this is what I have left of this skein. So these two would be considered the yin and the yang. This is the yin, this is the yang. So what it is, I think it's a 4-ply. I believe it's a 4-ply yarn. That 1-ply in this, it's 3 plies natural, 1 ply black, and this is the opposite. 3 plies black, 1 ply natural. So that's how you get the yin and the yang. And she has done numerous color combos of yarns in the same exact way. There's some yellows and pinks and blues and like burgundy and rust colors, and they all have like corresponding names like Kiss and Tell, Body, Soul, stuff like that. So my half wrap, I had this yarn on hand, and I really did love the linen quill. I loved the look of it and stuff. But because I had this yarn on hand, I started to like think about, what did I have on hand that I could use for this project? It requires 6 skeins. Did I have yarn for it? And I started to realize that I had this yarn on hand. And what I have is 2 skeins of this and 1 skein of this. So those 3 skeins are going to be 1/2 of my half wrap cowl, or my half wrap shawl, half and half triangle wrap shawl. And I'm going to be sandwiching them like this. So it'll be this yang color, then yin, and then I'll go back to yang. So the idea is that I knit the yang, this skein here, until it's gone, and then I attach this. And then I'll knit that until it's gone, and then I'll attach my second skein of this. If I understand the yields right, and it pans out in this yarn that I'm using, I will have some of this left of the second skein. I should have about anywhere from like 1/4 to 1/5 of this left. Then, so you end up knitting, like, the pattern is designed so that you're knitting 2 triangles. So in two, and they have you do 2 different colors. So you buy 3 skeins of each color. So 1/2 of the triangle is one color and the other half is the other. They're very beautiful, beautifully done. The way that they put the colors together, everything's tonal. So it'll be like a light blue with a deeper blue, or a light pink with a bright pink, some stuff like that. So my 1/2 is going to be these shades of black. And then the other half is going to be very hot, bright colors because that's what I had on hand. And when I sketched it out, it looked amazing. So my other side is going to be these 3 colors, working in the same way, knitting 1 color until it's gone, then going to the next, and then going to the next. And I don't remember the order that I planned, but I have a sketch that I'll put on screen where I show the order of the way I planned them. It took me a little bit of, like, I had to read the pattern a few times to understand how the colors would lay out. And I think in my sketch I'm kind of on it. I don't think I'm 100% there, because I think if I understand it right, so I think what'll happen in the triangle is that the colors will lay this way in the triangle. So if you imagine, like, if the top of the screen is a line and then it's coming down like this to a point over here, there'll be a band going like this, and then another band going like this, and another band going like that. So the colors should lay on the shawl in a diagonal way. And then the way that it looks like Purl Soho has styled it for wearing is that they fold it in half, and then you can have whatever side facing out you want, and then the other will be peeking out at the edge, which is cool. And I thought this would look really great because you're wearing it around your body, like around your neck primarily, and I could choose whether I want the bright colors facing out or whether I want the more neutral colors facing out. So I thought that would be like kind of a fun way to join the cowl. Also a cheap way to join the cowl, and Um, yeah, use up yarn, use yarn out of my stash. I did end up having to buy one color. I had to buy this yellow color because I had bought the other version of this. So this is part of the combo Rise and Shine. I think this is Shine, and I think Rise is the duller yellow, which is over there, but it's this is the more neon-y yellow, and yeah, it's actually pretty close to this. It's neon. It's not showing neon on screen. For some reason, neon yellow, neon colors don't show up in filming. So who knows why. Okay, so yeah, so I got a little bit of work done on that. That's not due until, I don't have to have that done till October. So I'll just work on it little by little. The other thing that I started to work on, so someone asked me about, that they were interested in, sorry, I have like yarn fuzz on my nose. So someone asked me about what is on my plan, like what's in my knitting plans, because many people do the Make 9 challenge. I make a lot more than 9, so I did it one time, and then I kind of did it last year. I did have a plan for last year that kind of went into the crapper as soon as the pandemic hit. Like, I pretty much stuck with a lot of it, but I found what works better for me is to keep a list and to jot down the things that I'm very much interested in working on, and or things that like catch my eye, patterns that catch my eye. Often what happens to me is when a pattern catches my eye, I immediately start to think, do I have yarn in my stash? And then I think, how badly do I want this to make this? And if I really want to make it badly and I do not have yarn in my stash, I will place an order for the yarn when I see yarn that I think is suitable. Then that yarn comes here, and it goes into my queue of things that I may cast on. So I want to talk more about, I guess, my future cast-ons and what's in my queue to knit for 2021. As I'm going to go through, I want to talk about it as I show you my stash acquisitions, because my stash acquisitions are very much centered around this, exactly what I just told you about, this idea of, I know I have this idea of what I want to make, but I may not have the yarn, so I go like hunting for it, right? I mean, that's part of the fun, right? And when you're planning a project, is to go hunting for just the right yarn for that project. Oh, and I want to say too, I was watching Caleb of Drowning in Yarn. I don't know if you've watched his channel. He's a fairly new knitter. I think he's been knitting 2 years, maybe 3. I think he said 2 in this last. He does very short videos, about 10 to 20 minute videos, where he just focuses on one thing. And he's like a pretty diverse knitter. He knits a lot of socks. So if you like knitting socks, that you might enjoy his channel. He also knits sweaters, and it's kind of fun for me, I've been knitting since I was 18 years old, and I'm in my 50s. So I've been knitting a whole long, very, very, very long time. Plus I was a professional knitwear designer for many, many years. For a period of there in between, like from when I was 20 until I was 30, I was a professional knitwear designer in the garment industry. So that's what I mean by that, by being a pro. It's really fun to watch Caleb sort of learn about knitting and knitting things. Anyway, the episode I most recently watched of his was about him realizing what some of the Ravelry functions are. So he realized that by putting his stash in Ravelry, that Ravelry had some really handy things that would help him keep track of it. That he didn't have to see something physically, in his hand to know that he had it. Instead, he could just put it all in Ravelry, and then when he's planning a project, Ravelry will make suggestions, match the project with what's in his stash. That's one thing that Ravelry does. And then he was also realizing that the queue in Ravelry is also quite handy, and that he had been just using it to dump in everything that he liked, and then he found that very overwhelming. Anyway, it was a great little 15-minute video that he did, where he talked about how he was using it and his ideas about how queue and stash should be used. I've been doing that all along, so that wasn't like new to me. But it was, interesting to just hear him talk about discovering the uses of it. And so I do like if you ever want to know what has caught my eye most recently, the easiest way to do that is to just look at my queue on Ravelry. And every once in a while, like probably every few months, I go in there and rearrange the order so that at the top of the queue are things that I'm most likely to cast on pretty quickly. And whenever I think about a new cast on, I talk to you about it here because it usually ties in with stash that I've acquired. So with that, my 2021 plan knits are the ones that you've seen already in this episode, and my first FO of 2021 is the Hyber Knit Along by Stephen West, the woven chevrons. The other things on my list are all these things that you've seen, plus a couple things that I'm going to tell you about for my future cast-ons because I've got yarn to go with them. So let's move into stash acquisitions. Okay, so the little clip that you just watched of me opening up new stash acquisitions were sales that I shopped. So those yarns, I do have plans for the Baby Surrey and the single skein of sock yarn. So I do have plans for this. So I have another pattern called the Saucy Surrey Bomber Jacket. I made two. I made a prototype that helped me make the pattern, and it's in hot pink. It's using Ching fiber, Melted Baby Surrey. I do not remember this colorway of that hot pink, but that was my prototype. And then I made another one. I gave that one away to a very dear friend who needed a hug. And then I made another one for myself in a colorway called Oyster. So I had made that in early 2020. I wear that sweater so much. It is so nice to put on in the morning when I just get out of bed and I'm walking around in my pajamas, because I usually wear just a tank top to bed. So I'll just throw this over. I can go downstairs and get my coffee, come back upstairs, and, putz around until I'm like, okay, it's time to get dressed, until I have a meeting or whatever. So yeah, I wear it a lot, and I've been wanting to make another one for myself, or perhaps to gift, or maybe gift that one and keep this one. And Yarn Scout, a local yarn shop in Bozeman, Montana. She's a amazing person. She had the yarn shop owner has been diagnosed with cancer and decided to close her yarn shop. So she's having, I think it's still going on, a 20% off store wide. Everything in the store was 20% off, and I was like, I'm gonna go see what she has. So I saw that she had a lot of Ching fiber. The pattern in my size calls for 4 skeins, so I got what looked like enough for the Saucy Surrey bomber jacket, and then I picked up this to be the trim, the neck, cuff, and waistband trim. I think it'll be really cool. It has a lot of white in it, but I think you kind of want a little bit of a contrast without being too off base, but yeah, I'm excited. This will be fun. So this will be a cast on and a sweater that will go in my queue for both my and probably won't go on my Ravelry queue, but it's on my list in my bullet journal as a sweater that I want to make this year. So this yarn just arrived. The white yarn that I showed you was a wool folk skein that I'm planning to make some more love owls for Julie, my granddaughter. I ran out of white yarn. I was using a white DK, so I just looked for another white DK. So I had made her from Susan B. Anderson Making Magazine. I talked about it over Vlogmas videos. I made her a mama owl and a baby owl and an egg. So I had told my son I would buy more yarn and make a daddy to go with the set, and maybe another little one, so that there's a set of 4, a family of 4 with an egg. So anyway, that was that. Okay, other stashquisitions. I had talked about this last time, a sweater that I was thinking about. I got this beautiful mix of minis from the Grey Sheep Company in the UK. So it's all British wool. So it's a sheep to skein operation run by, well, I know Emma, I don't remember her husband's name. They have a sheep shearer named Susie who helps them. But yeah, I needed some pinks, some shades of pink to make the watermelon pullover from Bauhaus Stricken magazine, which I'll pop a picture on here of someone else's project actually, that I was eyeing, and I was like, oh, so beautiful. The Bauhaus Stricken sweater is designed to be a black body, black main color. This person did white, which I really loved, and when I took a quick look at it, before I looked at her project page and stuff on Ravelry, I thought she was using mohair as the body, and I was like, that's a great idea! So, Brooklyn General had a sale as well, 10% off sale, and I purchased a bunch of white mohair to do the body of the watermelon sweater. So, more stash positions. I'll talk more about that sweater later when I get closer to cast on. I do want to cast that on. It is I think the Bauhaus patterning, you do have to do 3 colors at a time. You're knitting 3 colors in the same row for most of the yoke, or a lot of the yoke. So I kind of consider that a more cerebral knit. So it's something that I'll have to spend time looking at a chart and looking at my knitting to make sure that everything is matching. So I probably won't cast that on for another month or so. But certainly when I get around to it, I do need to play around with the colors and with the green colors that I have in my stash already, also from Little Grey Sheep. I need to sort of play around, match them to the colors. I think it's a total of 12 or 14 colors in the yoke. It's a lot of colors, but so pretty. I'm so excited to do something like that. I haven't done anything like that in ages, if at all. Okay, my last stash position is just a club stash that I got. I hope you can see this well. It's awfully dark, but it is a fiber club that I belong to from Into the World, which is a local upstate New York indie dyer. This one she called is at Grace. The color is Classic, The yarn is gray Shetland. So it's a gray toned Shetland, naturally gray, that has been overdyed in what she calls classic. So I had joined this club. It's a 4-ounce bump. I had joined this club to experience spinning different types of wool and just see, like, spin a whole skein of a type of wool, different types of wool, just kind of get an idea of what I like. I do learn a lot about I have learned a lot about spinning different types of wool from having an advent calendar from Le Petit Potions. So this is my second year with my Le Petit Potions advent calendar, and she does use different types of wool for each day. So I do get an opportunity to sort of see what those are like. But this is an opportunity to, like, have a full skein of one color or one type of wool in a color, and then knit it and kind of see what I like, see how I like it. So I don't know how much longer. It's a month-to-month subscription, club subscription, so I don't know how much longer I'm going to continue to get these from her, just because I ended up with so much fleece from my advent calendar, and I had a lot of fleece in my stash, so I don't know how much more I want to continue to just be stashing fleece for a while. We'll see. Okay, so that is all my stash that I have gotten. right, so skincare. I spent the last couple weeks reading and researching a lot about this condition that I need to grab my bullet journal so I can make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's a condition called sebaceous hyperplasia, and I've been reading up on treatments for them, and I have decided to go ahead and get treatment for it. It is a skin condition that impacts mostly older people, so it can begin in your late 30s, early 40s, and what it is a bunch of small bumps that form. They look like pimples. They look like they could be pimples, but they look like pimples that are like embedded under the skin. They don't have a head. They're just like, some of them can be actually donut shaped, and some of them will be like cone shaped, but there's no head like a pimple has. My sons I've had this condition for a while. It's very common. It's a very common condition. It is not painful. It's just unattractive. And it is something that it's treatable. There's a lot of different ways to treat it. For the last 2 years, I've been treating it with a retin-A treatment, which is one way to treat it. I've been using this product. It is an acne treatment this is basically retin-A. It is a very high, it's the highest percentage of retin-A, like pure retin-A product that you can get on the over the counter without a prescription. This is the same, it's just a different brand. This is different, and this one is La Roche-Posay. I think La Roche-Posay is slightly less expensive than different. But these are exactly the same product. And they work the same. So I've been using that treatment for those bumps. So my sons, I was going to say, call them zombie zits. So they seem like they're pimples, but they're not. If you pop them, they don't go away. They come back. So if you could squeeze it and you'll get fluid will come out and stuff, oil and whatever. A little blood, I guess, too, just like the same way if you pop a pimple. They'll ooze, but then they heal up and you have a bump again. So what they actually are not pimples. They are enlarged pores, like an enlarged bit of oil gland that has happened because either you had sun damage. So I don't know very many people my age or older that don't have sun damage on their faces, because when I was growing up, the highest SPF was 8. Most people use 2 or nothing, and fair-skinned people like me use 4 or maybe 8. So, I mean, not like now, like when my children are young, even just like 20, 30 years ago, when my kids were little, they used 50, SPF 50. So that didn't exist when I was a kid. And I grew up in California, which is a sunshiny place, warm climate where we were outside all the time, and we never had sunscreen on when we were kids, except when we went to the beach, and then it was like 4, SPF 4. Crazy, right? It's just crazy. Anyway, I have sun damage on my face, and a result of that sun damage is that you can get that condition, these like raised white bumps. And so I have a patch of them right here in the center of my forehead. I have more, which is very common. It's common to get them in the T-zone. So you can get them on your nose, you can get them on your chin, and also they will be along your hairline, along your cheekbone. So I have them there as well. Not a lot. Mine's not bad. I can cover it. But the thing is, like, you can cover freckles and scars even with a look of large pores with makeup, but you really can't cover bumps. Like, the bumps are still there. They're just the same color as makeup, but they're there, This treatment, I'm going to get a treatment now. I've been trying the ointment, and this works well of keeping it under control. I don't think I've gotten any new ones since I've started to use it, because apparently you can continue, like, even if you get them treated and they go away, you can still get more. This gel keeps you from getting more, and it keeps the ones that you have small, because they can also grow. I had one on my cheek over here that it's still there a little bit, but it grew really big. It was really ugly, and I got it treated and it went away, but it's coming back. And that's what happens. So you have to just continually go back and get them treated. So I'm going to go through, I think I'm going to have 3 sessions. I think I'll end up with 3 sessions getting this process called electrocautery. It's an old process that's been around for a long time. If you might be familiar with it, it's used in electrolysis. It's a process that is used to remove hair. An old process now. Everyone uses lasers to remove hair. But this is a process that's actually really effective for treating the condition, the skin condition that I have. So I didn't know if that was something that you have and if you were interested in learning about that. I did a lot of research. It seems like the electrocautery is the way to go because your skin recovers very quickly from it. It's not very invasive. So you can, like, there's 3 ways basically to get rid of this stuff. You can use the creams if you have a very mild case, and that'll take care of it pretty much. You just have to always use the creams. You have to, you're on a lifetime of using those creams. And I don't mind using Retin-A on my face because it has many other properties. One of which is to like keep the lines in general at bay, like from developing really deeply. So it keeps your skin smooth just completely and keeps you from having breakouts and stuff. So you can use that. The other way is to freeze them, or the electrocautery, which is burning them. So you can burn them off or freeze them off, or I want to say there was one more besides the ointment. Oh, laser treatment is the other one. Lasers scare me a little bit, so I'm going with the electrocautery method. I'll let you know how it works. I'm going to start the treatments this coming week, and it takes, as far as from what I've said, the worst thing that can happen is that you end up with scars, but the scars aren't going to be any bigger than the bumps, and scars you can cover with makeup without any trouble, like a little bit of foundation on them and you don't even see them. So that's the worst effect that can happen, side effect that can happen. I'm not worried about it. Everything that I've read, it sounds like it's a pretty slim chance that happens to you, that you'll end up with scarring. It's a fast recovery, so you'll recover within a week. Like, your skin will recover and look fine within a week. You might have some pigmentation if you're darker skinned. You may have some pigmentation difference for longer than a week, but again, easy to cover up with cosmetics. And the bumps are quite small. They're like no more than 1 to 3 millimeters. So that's how big the spots would be anyway, if it were a scar or if there was a pigmentation change. My skin's pretty light, so the pigmentation is not expected to be a problem for me. And I'll just have like red spots on my face for a week until they heal, and then I'll go back for, till everything is taken care of. The same treatment can be used, electrocautery is frequently used for taking care of skin tags or moles, or removing aging spots. They can be used for that. Any sort of spots that are on the skin, like surface stuff, it's an effective treatment for, apparently. So we'll see. I'll let you know. I'll let you know how it goes. I just wanted to share that with you, and let you know that was something that I've thought a lot about since I've been home during the pandemic, looking at my face. And I'm excited to have some smooth skin, especially on my forehead, which I feel like you probably can't see it in this, but maybe you can. I don't know. But especially like in Zoom calls and stuff where this is pretty much all people see. I'm just like, okay, yeah, I really want those taken care of. So yeah, I'm excited to have that done. That is all I have for you this week. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Do subscribe. That will help you find the video regardless of what thumbnail I put up. And that it should come up in your queue that way, in your suggested to watch queue that YouTube makes. If you want to be alerted, click the bell and get the notifications whenever I release a new video. That'll help too. And otherwise, thank you so much for being here. I really love having you here, and thank you for watching, and I will see you again next time. Bye.